Fair warning, this show contains strong language and adult themes from time to time. Sorry, Jerry can't help it.
Sick Boy Wolfgang Productions presents The Offering with Jerry Horror. A deep dive into the history of film and its filmmakers. Mostly horror, always genre.
Okay, so I found my new favorite rabbit hole. It's called Horrifying Hot Sauce, straight out of Denver, Colorado. And man, this stuff is wild. Handmade, small batch artisan sauces, each one inspired by horror movies and all the pop culture stuff we grew up on. I'm literally scrolling through their site right now. It's horrifyinghotsauce.com, and it's like a haunted spice rack. They don't just throw peppers in a blender. No. These maniacs ferment every batch for weeks until it bubbles like some mad scientist's cauldron. And then they hit it with fresh ingredients, so you get this perfect balance of scary hot and scary good. And rumor has it, there's even a very special Gouligans collab coming, and oh, you know I need that one. Here's the deal. Use 10 off 4 for 10% off any 4 bottles. Hey, or you go big with 15 off 6. That's 15% off any 6 bottles of your choice. I'm literally adding bottles to my cart right now, so do it with me. Check out horrifyinghotsauce.com. It's spooky and spicy. Welcome to The Offering with me, your host, Jerry Horror. Each week we take a deep dive into the history of film and filmmakers. Mostly horror, always genre. Please take a moment to subscribe to our show wherever you find your favorite podcast to stay up to date on future episodes. Coming up, James Franco is doing this movie and filming Pineapple Express at the same damn time. Topher Grace left That 70s Show to star in this major motion picture. A latex black suit was made for the movie's star, but it had to be replaced after it looked a little too much like a BDSM gimp suit. Prints of this film were delivered to some theaters under the code name Let's Dance Again. Stay tuned, you're not going to want to miss this.
Creepy classics, modern fights. Jerry guides us through the nights. Horror's history in the lights. Exploring endless chills and heights. George Romero, lost footage and hidden gems. Director's visions, dark diadems behind the scenes. We're taking there. Insightful whispered secrets we share. Sam Raimi. The Offering with Jerry Horror. Stories old and new. Jason Kruger, Bruce Campbell. Genre twists that shake your core. Every episode, we craving more. Mostly horror, always genre.
Ladies and gentlemen, friends beyond the binary, this is The Offering. I am your host, Jerry Horror. First and foremost, let's get down to business. I want to thank all the listeners, all the people who have supported this show and made it as fantastic as it is. We cannot do it without you. We are forever grateful. Thank you to my producer, Pete Bune. Thank you to David, our artist, and George, who made me look semi-sexy in some of those audio-visual specials for YouTube. Go check those out. Sick plug. You know how we roll. I got a thought that I just got to get off my brain real quick. Movies have become like sports. I was thinking like with these Predator movies, some of this stuff is run like 30, 40 years now, whether it's Star Wars. And there's like a home team, like you root for the New York Rangers. And sometimes the New York Rangers have a good season, sometimes they don't. It's kind of like the Halloween movies. It's like sometimes you get a Halloween Resurrection, and sometimes you get a Halloween 2018. Occasionally they'll win the pennant, they might go to the finals, whatever happens within, sports, which I don't really know about. But I really do think that people support, like you have your team, and your team is like Halloween, or your team is like Predator, and you're rooting for them. You want them to make a good movie. You want them to make a good TV series, good toys. Sometimes they do, and sometimes they don't. It's just become very strange because often we watch movies and we're like, this could have been a TV show. And then sometimes you watch a TV show, you're like, they should have done this as a movie. This would have been... So it really is kind of a wacky thing. I've been thinking about this a lot. These movie franchises are feeling a lot more like sports franchises. Okay, I just had to say it. I had to get over it. Folks, this is the final episode of the season. I hope that you've enjoyed everything you've listened to. Maybe you go back and listen to the ones you missed. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes there's ones you want to listen to again. But the fact of the matter is, this is the final episode of the season. Oh my God, we did it again. The little podcast that could. We did it again. We got through a whole friggin' season, which is like every season of the show is a miracle. I feel like we're on borrowed time every season. So thank you for that. Some of my favorites this season, obviously the Steve Barton interview, because that came out of left field. It came very quickly, and Steve really put it all on the line. So shout out to Steve Barton. Thank you for giving us your time and your opinions, because your opinions matter, especially in this crazy game of movies. My favorite episodes, could I be honest? I like Maniac. I thought Maniac was a great episode. I really liked that one. And believe it or not, I gotta say Slumber Party Massacre too, because it's like, you know, it was the season opener, but it's also like one of the horniest episodes. We're just getting all horned up watching Slumber Party Massacre 2. Let me know if we should get hornier in the next season, which would be season 6, as this is the final episode of season 5. Hey, listen, we got a really good review. I love when we get good reviews. Folks, I told you, if you write a solid review, whether it's bad or good, I'm going to read it on the air. So here we go. This comes from our good friend, Bradley Bunny, a.k.a. Brad Phillip. This was care of Apple Podcasts. You can leave some reviews there. 4 out of 5 stars, and I like that. I like 4 out of 5 stars because it gives us something to shoot for. It's like, ooh, you weren't quite, you're almost there, and that's good because I think you should always be chasing. It's like WWE. When you get the title, you got the title. People like the chase. People like when you're chasing the championship, and I think that's when we're at our best. 4 stars out of 5. Title of the review: more fun than an open casket funeral. Holy shit, that's funny. Jerry Horror's The Offering has become one of my favorite horror podcasts. His respect for the artists and the source material behind the films he reviews comes through in every breakdown. Every episode is packed with deep lore, funny stories, and unfiltered opinions that only Jerry can deliver. Unlike many creators, Jerry understands the blood, sweat, and tears that go into making a film, and he never belittles someone's work just to elevate himself. That appreciation, combined with his punk rock attitude, is what makes The Offering stand out among kill counters and pretentious critics. If you read this review to the end, leave 3 eggplant emojis in the comments. You see what I did there? Listen, I'm picking up what you're putting down, Brad. Thank you for this amazing review. Yo, listen, I appreciate it. You know, these reviews really are kind. You guys always have good stuff to say. We haven't gotten that review yet where people are like, this is dog shit, I hope you die. And you know what? I'll read that one on air too. I'm not encouraging anybody. You know, we like the good reviews, obviously. But hey, if you don't like the show, I want to hear from you. Tell me what I could be doing better. This is like guest service at Target. Were you happy today with your purchase? How would you rate the employees? No, we're not going to do that. Hey, listen, I forgot. This is the craziest thing. So we did Spawn this season. Sick plug. Dope episode. Obviously, the season was about trends and tropes, and that was when we were kind of dabbling in the late 90s. Like, ooh, we're going to do comic book movies. We're going to get a little edgy, get a little extreme. This is the craziest thing. So we got the 4K that Arrow put out of Spawn, and I've seen it. It looks beautiful. It's a fantastic remaster. It looks better than it has any right to be. But this is crazy. In the last, I want to say 4 days, a Spawn work print has leaked, which was the original version of the movie. And this is the crazy part. We talked about how kind of shitty, because they were rushing to get the movie done. This movie, if you watch the sequence, because God, when it's Satan, or their version of Satan is Malbolgia, in this movie, you get puppets. We got puppets. Instead of that stupid CGI Malbolgia at the end, there's a hand puppet. And I got to tell you, it looks great. The movie is better without all of the CGI. And I'm going to tell you, there's more fight scenes in it. Look, you can find this work print, obviously. Maybe you go to a website like Daily Motion, and you see that you can watch the Spawn work print like I did. It's worth it for the puppets alone. We try to be as definitive as we can with these episodes, but these movies, even if they're 30 years old, they're still evolving. Things are happening. Even like we had to add an addendum to the Roadhouse episode. And even since then, just update, they added a bunch of UFC fighters to the cast. I'm sure they're just going to be like a guy who gets thrown through a window or some shit. You know, I mean, a lot of these guys can't act. You think Khabib can act? Great fighter, nothing against him, but you think he can act? Probably not. So I need to get you guys hyped up because this is the final episode of the season. And we did talk about trends and tropes, and one last time I'll explain it. Trends are, it's just movie studios trying to keep up with the Joneses. They're like, hey, that movie Batman Returns was pretty cool. Let's try to do our own version of that. And then tropes are, we tried to do something different, and like we did succeed, like with Return of the Living Dead. But at the end of the day, it's still a zombie movie. You know, you have to give into the tropes because it's genre filmmaking. And this podcast is, you know, mostly genre, but it's always horror. And let me tell you something, this movie today, it's a horror story. And there's a lot of reasons why. But we're going to get into it. Stay tuned after the break. Let's get into the final episode of The Offering for this season. The summer of 2007 would unleash the holy trinity of threequels. Now, in 2004, we had the summer of sequels. It was all number twos. But in 2007, we were changing the game. We were having triplets, baby. So, let's start here. With an estimated production budget of $258 million to $350 million, this film was the most expensive film ever made at the time of its release. So remember, dear Offering listeners, the bigger the budget, the bigger the compromise. Let's read a quote here. The most important thing Peter can do right now is learn that this whole concept of him as the Avenger or him as the hero, he wears this red and blue outfit. With each criminal he brings to justice, he's trying to pay down the debt of guilt he feels about the death of Uncle Ben. He considers himself a hero and a sinless person versus these villains that he nabs. We felt it would be a great thing for him to learn a little less black and white view of life, that he's not really above the people that he's catching. Sam Raimi on how the character of Peter Parker developed in this film. Now, it goes without saying, I think Spider-Man is some of the best post 9/11 filmmaking. It really, if you lived in New York, it gave us something to rally around, especially after the horrors of 9/11. And then Spider-Man 2. Spider-Man 2 might be one of the best comic book films of all time. And it's crazy because you get Spider-Man 2, and then the next summer after that, you got Batman Begins. And again, hot take, maybe not so much. I think Batman Begins is the best of the Nolan trilogy. It's not The Dark Knight, it's Batman Begins. There's so many memorable lines. And look, The Dark Knight is a great film, but the whole thing was like, with Spider-Man 2, you raise the bar. And then with Batman Begins, you raise the bar again. So it's kind of like, now you have to have the drop-off. And Spider-Man 3 might very well be the drop-off.
Parker. What's happening? I don't know. But I have to stop it.
Now, in March of 2004, with Spider-Man 2 being released, it was coming in June, they announced that Spider-Man 3 was already in development for release in 2007. Now, I should probably tell you how this all happened. So Spider-Man 2 comes out and it's just tearing up the box office. And they're like, we're making a third one in 2007. Well, guess who didn't know about that? And they said that he was attached. One Sam Raimi. And he's like, oh, I guess we're doing it. Now, I have to tell you, if you learn anything today about director Sam Raimi, one thing that you're going to learn about this dude is he's very blue collar, and he has an approach to movies where it's like, no matter what he's up against, he does the job, he doesn't complain, and he does it. So he took that, he's a little alarmed that I'm attached to a third movie, but it's okay because I know they're going to pay me, and I love doing these Spider-Man movies, so it's all love. We're going to make a ton of money. By the release of Spider-Man 2, a release date for Spider-Man 3 had already been set for May 2nd, 2007, and that was before the third film had even begun production, which is insane, but this is how everything works nowadays. The date was later changed to May 4th. Oh, you get 2 more days, Sam. Don't worry, you can deliver it. You got 2 more days. You can figure. Sony Pictures completed a 7-figure deal with screenwriter Alan Sargent, who had previously penned Spider-Man 2, to script Spider-Man 3 with an option to do a 4th film. So this is where the meat and potatoes of our story starts, because this is probably one of the most disturbing things that I've ever found out in the research of everything we've ever done. Sam was on a plane with Avi Arad, Ike Perlmutter, and a bunch of Sony corporate suits. So Avi Arad was the guy who brought Marvel basically back from the brink of death. He owned the company Toy Biz, and his whole thing was like, we need to get the trading cards out, we need to get the toys out, let's get Marvel in the public consciousness. He was also responsible for films like The Punisher, the 2003 one, Daredevil, some of the stuff from the aughts that I enjoy. I like that Punisher movie. It's not good. I like the Daredevil with Ben Affleck. It's not good. It's not a good movie, but I enjoy it. This was the guy who also brought you Man-Thing, which went direct to video. But he was very proud of Spider-Man because it was like the first real thing that he was attached to. It's so kind of slimy. Because this guy has a stake in Marvel, he's attached to everything. One thing that they did, I think they realized the mistakes that Avi Arad, because as these pictures went on, he started getting more and more power over what was happening. So I think by the time you hit the MCU, they're like, we don't want anything to do with Avi Arad. How did they do that? Well, Avi would stay on the Sony side of things. But once Disney bought Marvel, they just pushed him to the side. They're like, this is our property now. Avi, you can go fuck yourself. Oh, Ike Perlmutter, who allegedly, famous racist and scumbag and supporter of Donald Trump, he was the CEO of Marvel at the time, and he had his fingers in everything. Not a nice guy, didn't want female action figures to be made, didn't want black action figures to be made, allegedly. It's not even allegedly. This guy, and he's still around, and he's sitting on billions of dollars. So whatever you're doing, you can curse Ike Perlmutter's name. He's still making money. So he's sitting on this plane with a bunch of these suits, Avi and Ike, and Sam, he's given a dossier of everything that he was told to do. We don't care how you do it, Sam, but this is what we want in Spider-Man 3. You're the artist. You make these decisions, but this is what we want, and it has to be in the movie. Sam was mortified. He thought that he had built trust with Sony. Well, this is the third film, kind of let me off the leash a little bit. Let me do whatever I want. We've got trust here, right? They were asking him to add specific characters. Most importantly, Venom. Sam didn't grow up with Venom. However, Sony explained what was at stake. Look, Sam, we're coming out with a PlayStation 3. Venom sells action figures. All of these elements are very important to Sony's portfolio, and they should be important to you because now you're a part of the Sony family. Sam instantly felt betrayed. Not only did they announce Spider-Man 3 with him directing before he even signed on, they gave him a target date. How is this, all of this? How is it going to work? What had he gotten himself into? Sure, Sony had asked for things previously, but not like this. They demanded it. They told him, this is what is necessary for our financial portfolio for the next year. What did any of this have to do with filmmaking? Sam Raimi, for the first time in his career, was freaked out. And immediately he gets off the plane and he called his brother Ted. And Ted recalls it being what seemed like a 6-hour conversation trying to figure out how to make sense of all of what he had just heard. But Sam was a man of his word. He would deliver whatever Sony wanted because that's what he agreed upon. He then immediately called his brother Ivan to start working out the story. For the very first time since the release of Evil Dead, Sam Raimi was scared. But luckily, Ivan had a plan. This is the story of Spider-Man 3. Now, immediately after Spider-Man 2's release, director Sam Raimi's brother Ivan had written a treatment, just in case. And he did that 2 months after Spider-Man 2 came out. Sam Raimi deciding to use this film to explore Peter learning that he's not a sinless vigilante, but that there can also be humanity in what he considers criminals. Harry Osborn was brought back because Raimi wanted to conclude his storyline. Now, me personally, I think Harry Osborn should have died in the second film. I think he kind of mucks up the works. And don't forget, the way this was envisioned was Sandman as your central villain, and then bringing the Harry Osborn story, the New Goblin, to an end, to its conclusion. Sony said no, we gotta have Venom. We gotta sell action figures. Raimi felt that Harry would not follow in his father's legacy, but would instead be somewhere between. Now, Sandman was introduced as an antagonist as Raimi found him to be a visually fascinating character. While Sandman himself is a petty criminal in the comics, the screenwriters created a background of the character being Uncle Ben's killer to increase Peter's guilt over his death and challenge his simplistic perception of the event. And I gotta tell you, this was a mistake. Retrofitting a movie to have it where, like, we know, we saw, we were there. Uncle Ben gets killed. The guy falls out the window. I can save you, but I don't have to, kind of a thing happening there. And when you retrofit events that we have learned to be gospel as fans, because dig this, just like comic books, we read them over and over again. We watch these movies over and over again. They become our Bible. We quote them in verse. So when you start doing things like this, you're kind of betraying the audience. I don't like that move at all. As we go through this, I'm going to explain the things I didn't like. Spider-Man 3 is a very divisive movie. This was the first movie where fanboys were like, oh, this is ridiculous, the audacity, what could they possibly be thinking? So we're going to go through it intelligently and level-headed. Let's not get crazy, folks. It's just Spider-Man 3. And truth be told, as I've watched this film a bunch of times now for this episode, I like Spider-Man 3 a lot. It has 3 musical numbers. It has a shoved-in Venom plot with Topher fucking Grace. And I get why they cast Topher Grace. They casted him because they're like, we need the antithesis. And he's got the frosted tips. And also, I'm going to complain here. I'm sorry. I got to go off, folks. Eddie Brock in the comics is a pretty muscled up dude. We can buy Tom Hardy as Venom. You know, I think if I was casting Venom right now, it's me, producer Pete, and a pile of money. Alan Ritchson, Reacher, be a perfect Eddie Brock, but now he's even a little too old. You know, why do we have 45-year-old Alan Ritchson? But it could work. We could make it work. Pete and I got a pile of money. We'll do it. So overall, Raimi described the film as being about Peter, Mary Jane, Harry, and the Sandman, and Peter's journey being one of forgiveness. Now, initially, Raimi wanted another villain, and he had talked to his friend Ben Kingsley, who was in negotiations to play the Vulture before the character was cut. Avi Arad sees the Vulture, and he says, he's an old man. He's an old man in a bird suit. This is stupid. An old man in a bird suit is not going to sell action figures. What's going to sell action figures is that goop monster with the big sharp teeth, Venom. That's our guy. Oh, and by the way, Avi Arad did tell Sam Raimi, we are going to be marketing this film on the black suit. And if you watch the teaser trailer, you see the posters, it's all about that black suit. So just keep that in your heads, folks. Now, initially, Vulture was considered to be an accomplice of Flint Marko in the script, but guess what? He gets cut out. Ben Kingsley had been optioned. They gave him a couple of bucks, and he got cut loose. Producer Avi Arad convinced Raimi to include Venom, a character whose perceived lack of humanity had initially been criticized by Raimi. Venom's alter ego, Eddie Brock, already had a minor role in the script. And I gotta say, from what I understand, that original script was better. Everything would have went down, right? We fight the Vulture, we fight Sandman, Harry's story comes to an end as the new Goblin, and then at the end of the movie, he rips off that black suit. And who do we see? We see a young Eddie Brock. He gets the suit and he becomes Venom. Boom, to be continued. Better movie. I'm sorry, folks. Better movie. You don't have to shoehorn it. And then you can do Spider-Man 4, and that can be the Venom movie. But no, we can't have nice things. Arad felt the series had relied too much on Raimi's personal favorite Spider-Man villains and not characters that modern fans were actually interested in. So Raimi included Venom just to appease them. And you know what? After a while, Raimi starts to dig the Venom character. Unfortunately, he doesn't know how to shoehorn him in this film. And pretty soon, both Sam and Sony realized that there needed to be more Venom in this movie, as the character would be a large part of the marketing campaign. The film's version of this character is an amalgamation of Venom stories. Edward Brock Jr., the human part of Venom, serves as a mirror to Peter Parker, with both characters having similar jobs and similar romantic interests. Brock's actions as a journalist in Spider-Man 3 also represent contemporary themes of paparazzi and tabloid journalism, something that Peter Parker would never do. The producers also suggested adding a rival love interest, Gwen Stacy, filling in as an other girl type that Raimi had already created. With so many additions, screenwriter Alvin Sargent soon found his script so complex that he considered splitting it into 2 films. But he abandoned the idea when he could not create a successful intermediate climax. No, not only did Sam have to put up with all this studio bullshit, in order to make the release date, he would be running 7 separate units to get all the footage, hopping from one set to the next. To make matters worse, even with all the stunt work going on, Bryce Dallas Howard, who is playing the titular Gwen Stacy, was unknowingly pregnant and almost had a miscarriage because of this movie. They put her up on the wires and they dropped her. And it was bad. And that's how she found out she was pregnant, because she almost had a miscarriage. It's really crazy shit. Now, the whole movie was so rushed that everyone involved was working 18-hour days for at least 2 months straight. Sony was so focused on the release date that they did leave Sam alone after he made all the changes to the screenplay. Now, truth be told, at this point, he was just let off the leash and absolute mania ensued. Because at this point, now some people have said this movie's $298 million. I've heard 350. And at that point, Sam Raimi has to make this movie. They need the product because, again, this is the transition where this is corporate product versus actual filmmaking. However, one day while shooting the final Venom scenes, Avi Arad came to set and made sure that Sam didn't make Venom too evil. Sam, don't make Venom too vicious. Don't make him too evil. There's a couple of scenes here where he eats people. Let's not do that. And he says, why? Why am I doing that? That's Venom. That's the character. Well, it's because, this is actually kind of a backdoor pilot for a Venom movie. And we would like to do 2 Venom movies with Topher Grace after this. Essentially, Sam Raimi had shoehorned in this backdoor pilot. And guess what? He didn't know right up until he was almost done with the movie. Now, hot take. Can I say this? I know this is going to upset some people. I love the Sandman because he's kind of like a universal monster in this movie. and that works for me. Sam Raimi chose Sandman because of all the visual stuff he could do. He could really let loose, and like at the end, he makes that kaiju version of Sandman. There's some cool stuff happening in this movie. But unfortunately, the tone gets thrown off because of this plot thread. Sam had included the Sandman because he knew. He's like, this is the most visually engaging element that I've got in this film, and this is something that I've never seen on screen before. Some of those effects are really impressive, but when they're not, they absolutely fall flat. And again, the Sandman has a sick daughter. He's estranged from his family. His story is very somber. And I'm going to be honest with you folks, it brings the whole movie down. Now, normally, folks, we do this a certain way, but we're going to jump around because Spider-Man 3 is this Frankenstein monster of a film because there's so many moving pieces. It's an overstuffed movie. So I need to flash forward really quickly to give you more details. Now, ultimately, this film is released May 4th of 2007. The film set a worldwide single-day record, $104 million on Friday. It broke its own record again on Saturday with $117 million. Now, initially, Rotten Tomatoes gave Spider-Man 3, it holds a 63% fresh among critics and a 51% rotten among audiences. Its average rating is 6.2 out of 10. Now, Metacritic, which uses a weighted average, assigned the film a score of 59 out of 100, and that's based on 40 critics, indicating mixed or average reviews. The Cinema Score, however, fares much better. They gave the film an average grade of B+. It's a B+ out of an A to F scale, and I'd say that's probably the best out of all of these. But if you know old Uncle Jerry, there's only one review that matters, and that is my good friend and idol, Roger Ebert. Rest in peace. And so here it goes. How could Sam Raimi, having gone so right with Spider-Man 2, go so wrong with Spider-Man 3? Did the $250 million budget paralyze him? Has this series grown too heavy on its feet? How many times can we see essentially the same romantic scenario repeated? How much dangling in the air can one girl do? And how does Spidey keep his identity a secret anyway, when there are more arrivals and departures through his apartment's window than on a busy day at LaGuardia Airport? I love you, Roger Ebert. I love you. You're the best. So, again, our budget, $258 million, allegedly. So we've talked about. I'm going to say it again. It was like 350. Box office, $895 million. Just so we all get this clear, whether you love or hate Spider-Man 3, it was the highest grossing Spider-Man film until it was surpassed by Spider-Man Far From Home in 2019. This was also Sam Raimi's highest grossing film until Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. And I should talk about that for a minute because this movie left such a bad taste in Sam Raimi's mouth. He's like, I don't know if I can do a big movie like that again. He does Drag Me to Hell. He does some smaller films, but he's like, I don't think I can be a part of that machine. And ultimately his name comes up and Kevin Feige's like, listen, I love those Spider-Man movies. Come back, do something, make this Doctor Strange movie. And here's the thing. There are parts of Multiverse of Madness that are a Sam Raimi film, and you're like, ooh, yeah, I can feel the auteur. But then we get to other parts where you're just like, this is a fucking MCU movie, and there's no fingerprints. For better or worse, when you watch any of these three Spider-Man movies, there is an auteur. There is a person pulling the trigger. There's a lot of things I like in this movie. First off, there is a very goofy tone with Peter Parker. He gets the emo haircut, he's dancing. But the more I watch it, the more I like it. And I think this film works in a lot of respects, but when it doesn't, like I said, Sandman brings the whole thing down. You should have killed Harry in the second movie. And also, I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but old Uncle Jerry figured out how to make this movie work. We will get there, I promise. In 2005, we got Batman Begins, and that's a dark and grounded Bruce Wayne relaunch, and it ups the stakes for all superhero films in general. Again, Batman Begins, best of the Nolan trilogy. 2007, Spider-Man 3 comes out. In 2008, we get Iron Man, and that kicks off the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe. In some ways, Spider-Man 3, it's got 3 different musical numbers in it. It's got a Fred Astaire scene with Peter dancing in a bar. It almost seems quaint. It seems like a movie from the 1940s when you compare it to Batman Begins and Iron Man. As you can see, Spider-Man 3 is trapped between a rock and a hard place, between 2 billionaires. So you got the Spider-Man sandwich. Spider-Man's the filling in the Oreo cookie. On one end, you got Bruce Wayne. On the other end, you got Tony Stark. So who cares about a kid from Queens when we got billionaires doing all kinds of crazy shit in this world, right? This episode is going to be done a little bit different because we have so much to get through. So let's get to the marketing and toys, because that is a part of the trends and tropes this season. The trend being that you had better give in to your corporate overlords or you will not be directing this movie, Sam Raimi. And they did have a backup plan, just so we're all clear. There were promotional tie-in partners, including Burger King, 7-Eleven, General Mills, Kraft Foods, and the biggest, Comcast, which Universal would later buy. That's, another story. These tie-ins were valued at $150 million. $150 million commitment from these brands to create hype for Spider-Man 3. And when I tell you this movie had so much hype, if you thought the build to Spider-Man 2 was going to blow your socks off, Spider-Man 3 was everywhere. You want cheese-flavored snacks? You want a symbiote Burger King meal? You want Spider-Man Kraft macaroni and cheese? If I had to list every product made for this movie, we might very well be here until season 6. Other promotional and retail partners were involved, such as Walmart, Target, and Toys R Us. Now, it's important that I talk about Toys R Us because they had their own exclusive merchandise. And as a big Venom nerd, I like owning a lot of weird Venom shit. Holy shit, dude. If you go on eBay and you look up those Toys R Us exclusive figures that were made for Spider-Man 3, they're going for like $500 a piece. This was the same thing. Now, don't forget, Toy Biz had the exclusive license for so long. Avi Arad sold that license to Hasbro and probably made himself $100 million off of that deal alone. So now Hasbro, who had long since done the Star Wars figures, which were sold to them from Kenner, they really didn't do much with this line. When Spider-Man 1 came out, the figures come out. There's some figures when the movie comes out and then it hits, DVD or whatever. So it's a short lifespan. So Spider-Man 2 figures and Spider-Man 3 figures, especially with these exclusive Toys R Us figures, they go for hundreds of dollars. There's a few of them. There's a Spider-Man 2 figure with Peter Parker and he's got the little scooter and it shoots pizzas. That figure alone is thousands of dollars because they didn't make a lot. Sony reported no paid product placements within the film itself. We're not going to see any billboards, like if you're watching Superman 2 and there's that big Marlboro billboard, which as a kid, I'm like, what's Marlboro? I'm like, oh, cigarettes. I did eventually smoke Marlboro, so thanks, Superman. Or was it Zod? Who did it? I don't know. Probably Superman. With all these partner involvements through external advertising and retail campaigns, there would be no actual product placement in the movie, and that was one thing that Sam Raimi got. He felt that it detracted from the overall, what are we going to do? We're going to have Peter Parker. He's like, I sure could go for an ice cold Mountain Dew, MJ. Whew, that Sandman is tough. Now, of course, Hasbro held the license for Marvel characters. They had their own tie-ins. They had a deluxe spinning web blaster. They had the action figures aimed at both children and collectors. Toys of the Green Goblin and Dr. Octopus from the first 2 films were re-released. And we need some other people for Spider-Man to fight. We got the Lizard, Scorpion, Kraven the Hunter, and Rhino in a style that was kind of reminiscent of the film. My favorite, though, if you look this up, Technosaurus created interactive toys, including a handheld Battletronics device, and it straps to the inside of your player's wrist, and it mimics Spidey's web-slinging motions. Now, The most important part of Spider-Man 3 was that it was meant to push PlayStation 3. One of the first games that they wanted on PlayStation 3 was Spider-Man 3. You want to talk about video game releases. Oh my God. This thing, I got to read it off. This thing came out for everything. PlayStation 3, PlayStation 2, Xbox 360, Microsoft Windows, Wii, Nintendo DS, Game Boy Advance, and PlayStation Portable. It was developed by Treyarch, while Vicarious Visions handled the development of other versions. Obviously, the version that you get for PlayStation 3 is not the version you're going to get on Game Boy Advance. But I will say this, Spider-Man 2 was a great game. Spider-Man 3 is kind of wonky. It's not as good. So it's kind of weird. It almost mirrors the films. But I do like Spider-Man 3 as a game. You've got Bruce Campbell, who's telling you how to do everything. He's like, all right, Peter, you're going to press the X button now if you want to shoot a web. Listen, they're open world games. You could change into Venom or the symbiote suit at any given time. I thought that was cool. Most of the actors came back for the video game. You had Tobey Maguire, James Franco, you had Topher Grace, Thomas Hayden Church, J.K. Simmons, and Bruce Campbell again, who plays not only a French maitre d', but he also narrates the in-game tutorial level. So, listen, if there was anything that came good out of Spider-Man 3, we got some kick-ass video games. That's a big part of what we're doing here. You know, this is a different kind of an episode for us because we're getting into the nuts and bolts of what makes these things work. Jerry, can Spider-Man 3 be better? Can it be redeemed? Because this movie is so divisive. Most general audiences are like, why are there musical numbers? What's happening in this movie? God damn, I gotta say, Gwen Stacy, Bryce Dallas Howard, she looks weird with blonde hair. But man, she's thicker than a Snicker, and she's hot as hell, bro. Yo, if anybody's got Bryce Dallas Howard's number, let her know that I'm single and ready to mingle.
We'll be right back with more of The Offering with Jerry Horror.
Now available in paperback, hardcover, and ebook. Icons of Fright, 100 interviews with legendary horror filmmakers. You can now own the greatest collection of horror interviews ever assembled. From the Universal monsters to modern-day meta, there's something here for every horror fan to sink their fangs into. Icons of Fright, 100 interviews with legendary horror filmmakers. Available now on Amazon from Harker Press.
The term cult film itself refers to the subculture that surrounds underground films and midnight movies. A cafe is usually a small and informal establishment serving various refreshments in an intimate and inviting setting. What do you get when you combine the two? You get the Cult Cafe, located at the Cinema Arts Center in Huntington, New York. Every Saturday night at 10 p.m., Cult Cafe brings you the best in cult film and beloved classics. Curated with care, especially for a devoted fan base of cinephiles. Cult Cafe is where box office bombs are resurrected, and more obscure, transgressive films, shunned by the mainstream, can find a home beautifully projected on a large silver screen. Past movies screened at the Cult Cafe include David Cronenberg's Videodrome, Frank Henenlotter's Basket Case, John Carpenter's The Thing, Sam Raimi's Evil Dead, Victor Bonacor's Thrust, and Richard Kelly's Donnie Darko. Man, the programming there is on point. For tickets and showtimes, head on over to cinemaartscenter.org to find a listing of films, or add Cult Cafe on Facebook to find a series of upcoming events. There really is nothing like seeing an old favorite in a theater full of your fellow movie fans. Hey, maybe I'll even see you there. Cinema will never die at the Cult Cafe. Listeners and fans of The Offering can get their hands on their very own The Offering with Jerry Horror merch, now only at TeePublic. Find your own fresh The Offering with Jerry Horror high-quality merchandise, including t-shirts, hoodies, tank tops, long sleeves, stickers, and mugs. Just like the show, we've got gear that's mostly horror, always genre. The Offering with Jerry Horror TeePublic Store has everything you need to represent your favorite podcast. Folks, head on over to teepublic.com right now and pick up your very own Offering tee today. You're listening to The Offering with Jerry Horror. Got a question or a story you want to share with me? It might be featured in a future episode. Email me at jerryhorror@gmail.com or hit me up on Twitter at jerryhorror. I'm also on Instagram. You can find me there at jerryhorror. Rate and review this show on Apple Podcast, and you might find your review in an upcoming episode. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to The Offering. Now back to the show. In 2017, Sony brought out Spider-Man 3, The Editor's Cut. And I'm going to tell you right now, is it a wildly different movie? Is it like, oh my God, this is the version? This is Bob Murawski, who is famously Sam Raimi's editor, put this together, therefore The Editor's Cut. It's a better movie. It flows better. It adds a couple of scenes. It gives some stuff a little bit more room to breathe. I think the musical cues are better. It flows better. So if you're going to rewatch Spider-Man 3, make sure you're watching that Editor's Cut. You can buy it on Blu-ray, 4K. It's on Prime. You can buy it digitally. This Editor's Cut coincided with the film's 10th anniversary, which was included in the Spider-Man Limited Edition Blu-ray collection on June 13th, 2017. And this film features unused music from Christopher Young, and it's 2 minutes shorter than the theatrical cut. Some scenes are shifted around or have been completely removed, and the film includes 3 new scenes, 3 alternate climax sequences, and 1 extended sequence. Spider-Man 3 Editor's Cut was later re-released with the Spider-Man Legacy Collection. That's the 4K Blu-ray box set, which I have and I enjoy. Again, if you're going to rewatch this film, the Editor's Cut is superior. Does it change the movie drastically? No, it doesn't. But I think it makes the movie work better because, goddamn, if there's one word that sums up Spider-Man 3, it is overstuffed. It's overstuffed with stories. It's overstuffed with villains. But hey, look, we got good old Ted Raimi here and J.K. Simmons, and you can never go wrong with that. J.K. Simmons, he's so good that they even figured out to Jesus, we can't have anybody play J. Jonah Jameson. We should bring him back. So they fudged everything in these new movies with Tom Holland just to get J.K. back. And it works. Here's a really quick fun fact. When they were making Spider-Man initially, the first one with Sam Raimi, do you know who tried to insert themselves as J. Jonah Jameson? Stan Lee. Stan Lee was like, wow, nobody else could really. If there's one guy, did you know I was the editor-in-chief at Marvel? Well, let me tell you something. If there's one man who's cut out to play J. Jonah Jameson, it's me, old Stan. So obviously producers were not going to let that happen for a myriad of reasons. And there was this whole thing where Stan Lee would show up on the set and J.K. Simmons would be doing his thing. And he fucking kills it in this movie. He's like everybody's at a 7. He's at like a 10 and he's just on his shit. Stan Lee was throwing shade at J.K. Simmons. He was like, well, J.K., Jonah would have done it this way. He's like, all right, I'll take that into consideration, Stan Lee. He's like, why don't you go get some coffee and, listen. So Stan Lee throwing shade at J.K. Simmons because he wanted to play J. Jonah Jameson. It happened. It's crazy. Raimi himself would later call the film awful during a 2014 interview. In 2018, Arad accepted responsibility for pushing Raimi to include Venom in the film. And the result had disappointed many fans, to say the least. They were disappointed with Venom. I think we all learned that Venom is not a sideshow. In all fairness, I'll take the guilt because of what Sam Raimi used to say in all those interviews, that he was feeling guilty that I forced him into it. And I did. In 2021, Raimi acknowledged that the negative internet reaction to Spider-Man 3 at the time felt awful. He loved doing these Spider-Man films, but he never wanted to do another superhero film. He was done. He was cooked from this experience. This is, again, the genesis of social media after Spider-Man 3. And people are like, oh, bro, this movie sucks. And Spider-Man 3 is the introduction of toxicity from the online film community. This is where all the nerds are all like, the edgelords, that's not how you do Venom, bro. It's not dark enough. It's not dark. And that's the problem. The problem is when they made Batman Begins, Nolan has a vision. It's dark, grounded, and gritty. So guess what? When they try to do Superman, the ones with Henry Cavill, we're going to make it dark, grounded, and gritty. I'm surprised they didn't have Superman in that movie say, fuck you. I mean, spoiler alert, he snaps Zod's neck in that movie. But now the problem we had in Hollywood was everything's got to be dark, bro. It's got to be gritty. And they did that. They did that for the James Bond franchise. Even the Harry Potter franchise started getting gritty and darker as it went along. Again, he does Multiverse of Madness, but the reason he did that was because he felt like he had to get back on the horse. Now, following its initial mixed reception, Spider-Man 3 gained widespread meme popularity on social media, becoming the subject of fan reappraisal. Peter Parker's corrupted personality under the Venom symbiote has been nicknamed Bully Maguire or Emo Peter Parker. And actually, these memes helped increase the popularity of the movie. So we have to talk about the memification of... I can't believe, Pete, we're doing this. I'm talking about fucking memes. But we're doing it. Because sometimes you're with the homies and you just got to meme it up. You got to stop memeing around. With that being said, during a Reddit AMA when promoting Babylon, Maguire acknowledged the memes, finding it a funny discovery. Several media outlets have reevaluated Spider-Man 3 over the years since its 2007 release. Emma Castellana of Screen Rant assessed it as the 5th most underrated superhero film ever made. So, the reason I like to do these retrospectives is because now that time has passed, look, are you ready for this? Because this, folks, it's going to blow your mind. This movie's 18 years old, so it's legal. It's totally legal to go have an OnlyFans account. But next year, it's 19 years old. And I'm going to tell you, even with Mary Jane and these ridiculous musical numbers, her being a Broadway star, I kind of low-key love this movie. So, it is what it is. Is it the best of the trilogy? No. Is it good? Yes. So you're probably wondering, you're sitting there, well, Uncle Jerry, what would you do? How would you fix Spider-Man 3? And because I'm a genius, this is how I'm going to fix Spider-Man 3 for you. I would have killed Eddie Brock and then made Harry Osborn the new Venom. I would have had Spider-Man kill Eddie Brock, then the symbiote goes on to Harry. And then it leaves it off as a new ending. And then it would have had this cliffhanger from Spider-Man 3 into Spider-Man 4, and the third movie would have been with the Vulture, and you could have done your Venom spin-offs, and James Franco would have been Venom. I don't know. I like that idea. I think I'm smart. I'm probably not. We should talk about the canceled sequel plans, because, woo boy, were there plans for more Spider-Mans. In 2007, Raimi expressed interest in portraying the transformation of Dr. Kirk Connors into his villainous alter ego, the Lizard. And this character had been teased since Spider-Man 2. I love Dylan Baker as an actor, and I'm like, God damn it, when is he going to become the Lizard? Everybody was enthusiastic about the idea. By December 2009, Ben Kingsley's out of the picture. John Malkovich was in negotiations to play the Vulture, and Anne Hathaway would play Felicia Hardy. She would not have been transformed into the Black Cat instantly, but she would be a new superpowered figure, the Vultress. Anne Hathaway goes on to do The Dark Knight Rises, which is probably a better move. Sony Pictures announced in January 2010 that plans for Spider-Man 4 had been canceled due to Raimi's withdrawal from the project. It's all Sam Raimi's fault. Raimi reportedly ended his participation due to his doubt that he could meet the planned May 6, 2011 release date. See, they did it again. They're like, oh, well, you can do it, Sam, but you have to have it done in like 14 months. Raimi reportedly went through 4 iterations of the script with different screenwriters, and at the end of it all, he still hated it. None of it worked. All 4 scripts, he said, were terrible. Raimi would later say that he couldn't get the script in on time, and that due to his failings, he said, Sony, just go ahead with a reboot. But guess what? Sony had that in their pocket. They knew he wasn't going to make Spider-Man 4. So the plan was Spider-Man 4 to be in 2011, followed by a Venom spin-off film, along with a 5th and 6th installment, but they were all canceled. What happens in 2012, early 2012? Sony announces that they're going to release a new movie called The Amazing Spider-Man with Andrew Garfield playing Peter Parker. Look, if you're not willing to play ball with Sony, guess what? They'll hire someone else. They don't care. They're going to make a Spider-Man movie with or without you. There was a press junket with Kirsten Dunst. This is probably from about 15 years ago. And Kirsten Dunst says, there's no way you could make a Spider-Man movie without me, Tobey, or Sam Raimi. Guess what, bitch? They don't give a fuck. They've rebooted Spider-Man now. Spider-Man is essentially James Bond. So is Batman. It doesn't matter. They don't care. Do you know what matters? The IP matters. The stuff with Garfield didn't work. There's parts of it that do. That Amazing Spider-Man 2, you talk about a bad movie. You complain about Spider-Man 3. The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is terrible. Terrible. It's almost unwatchable in parts. They shoehorn stuff in. Don't forget, Amazing Spider-Man 2 had a lot of the same problems where they tried fitting in Electro and all this other bullshit. There was even an alternate cut of The Amazing Spider-Man 2 where they added a girl playing Mary Jane and then cut the entire character out. So Sony doesn't really learn from a lot of their mistakes. We talk about, how do you sum this up? What is the lesson to be learned from all of this? And I'm going to tell you what it is. This is the personification of corporate power gone wrong. This is where Sony says to the auteur, this is what has to be in this movie. I don't care what you want. There's a bottom line. There's a finish line. There's a date this movie has to open, and it doesn't matter what you envision or what you think belongs in this film. In essence, you're not working with us. You're working for us. And unfortunately, Sam Raimi fucked around and found out that guess what? You can make two great movies, but it doesn't matter. Sony has shareholders. They have to answer to those shareholders. And now the story of Spider-Man 3 is unfortunately the story of the movie industry. It's indicative of everything that's wrong with all of these superhero movies and movies in general. Because what happened was the director doesn't matter. The actor doesn't matter. What matters is the IP. And we must continue to push the IP forward. Well, Tobey can't be in it. We'll find someone else. I mean, you remember the whole story. Producer Pete, I know, remembers this story. Tobey Maguire was playing hardball. He hurt his back. And it became a real situation where they were going to cast Jake Gyllenhaal in Spider-Man 2. Luckily, cooler heads prevailed. I don't think it would have worked. And it's funny because later they parody that in Entourage, with James Cameron's Aquaman, where Vinny Chase is going to be replaced by Jake Gyllenhaal. So I thought that was a cute little in-universe reference to the whole thing. If you go back and you watch this movie and you give it a fair shake, is it a lesser movie than Spider-Man 2? Yeah, it is. But you know what? It's a fun, goofy time. And if you know Sam Raimi's sensibilities, the movie works. Listen, Franco's great. I mean, he has a really goofy performance because they do the whole amnesia thing. And come on, in every soap opera or telenovela, every week somebody gets amnesia. Amnesia is like a screenwriter's best friend. It's like, well, what happened? I don't know what happened. I'm not Harry anymore. I'm not the new Goblin. That was another problem. They weren't happy with James Franco's costume as the new Goblin. At one point, they wanted to turn him into the Hobgoblin, and they didn't want to do that because they said, maybe we'll use the Hobgoblin in another sequel. So what ends up happening is Sam Raimi would shoot all this stuff with Franco in the costume. They would see it, and they'd say, the costume, it needs to be more like the action figure. And this is the fucking problem. You got this guy, he's running 7 units. They're shooting this all over Los Angeles, all over New York. And guess what? because the costume doesn't match the action figure, fuck you, Sam Raimi. You got to reshoot it all with a new costume. Everybody who is involved from top to bottom with this movie, whether it's Toby, Kristen, whether it's James, everybody who was involved with this movie was absolutely exhausted. They didn't know if they were going to be able to come back for a Spider-Man 4. I think in a perfect world, you get Spider-Man 4, and Raimi just keeps making these movies because they had a plan. They were going to bring Kurt Connors back as the Lizard, and guess what? Just because Sam Raimi didn't do it doesn't mean, it's like I tell people, a good idea never dies. So who's the villain in The Amazing Spider-Man with Andrew Garfield? The Lizard. Because we had to pull the trigger on it. And in fact, that's where they get all these dopey ideas in those Amazing Spider-Man films to start doing the Sonyverse. And guess what we just saw? The death of the Sonyverse. We got a bunch of movies, just hear me out, a bunch of Spider-Man movies in which Spider-Man never appears. We got Madam Web, we got Morbius. Come on, it's Morbin time. Remember how great that was? And how did the Sonyverse end? With a sad whimper with the Craven film. Craven did not work. Craven just didn't work. And now we're talking about that maybe in this Secret Wars or Avengers Doomsday, the MCU will introduce their own version of Venom, and they're looking to do Venom films. Who will be Eddie Brock? I don't know. Will it be Agent Venom? That's the Flash Thompson version, where Flash Thompson is a veteran and he gets the symbiote, and Agent Venom is kind of like he's kind of like a Punisher type of deal, where he's kind of good, but he's kind of bad. It just doesn't matter. It's like, you remember the movie Meatballs with Bill Murray? Bill Murray's talking to the kids. It's a slobs versus snobs thing. And he says, it just doesn't matter. Because at the end of the day, Sony is going to do whatever the fuck they want. They made 2 more Spider-Man games. They made Into the Spider-Verse, which were probably 2 of the most successful movies that they've done. They still have to deliver a 3rd Spider-Verse movie. And guess what? Do you know what the plan is? Even though they've got Tom Holland for 3 more movies, you know what the plan is. We're going to find some little kid, and we'll cast him young to play Miles Morales in live action. It doesn't matter what you think. It doesn't matter even if you're one of the greatest directors of all time, and I really do mean that because I love Sam Raimi. He's made some of my favorite films, whether it's Evil Dead 2 or Darkman. It just doesn't matter. Because guess what? Sony's going to do what Sony wants, and they don't give a shit who gets in the way. We are now at my favorite part of the show. And sadly, this is the final unhinged reviews of Season 5. This is really a moment here. This unhinged reviews is very special, and I'm going to tell you why. Just so we're clear, I had to go through hundreds of reviews, and it didn't matter whether they were bad or good. They were too long. And I said this to producer Pete, nerds gonna nerd and do what they do. And goddamn, can anyone write a review that isn't 600 pages of why you hate Spider-Man 3 or why Spider-Man 3 is the best in the trilogy? Look, do you know what I did? I stayed up all night. I made coffee. It was insane to find these reviews. But you know what? This is The Offering. It's the final episode of the season. This is our grand finale. And I had to give you some of the best and most unhinged reviews that I found for Spider-Man 3. Jake Dunn, 5 out of 5 stars. Title, originally disliked, but now much appreciated in 2025. When this movie first came out, I was very disappointed, as it did not come anywhere close to the first 2 in the series. But after seeing what has come afterwards in terms of movies in the Spider-Man franchise, I look back at Spider-Man 3 with appreciation. This movie was very close to being really good, and unfortunately corrupted by meddling studio execs that overly complicated a director's established vision. It is a miracle that this movie turned out as good as it did. So for that and the sweet nostalgia it provides, I give it 5 stars. And this guy absolutely gets it. Because I'm going to tell you what, lesser directors would have cocked this up. If this had been somebody else, like a young guy in his 20s, this would have been an unmitigated disaster. So, you know what? Spider-Man 3 might not be the best movie, but now, armed with the knowledge that you get from The Offering, considering everything that went down, it's not a bad movie. And that's exactly what this review from Jake Dunn establishes. It's a very good review. I think Jake Dunn's thoughts are my own. Looking back, this movie is quaint and very charming. Carrie Eaton, 5 out of 5 stars. Title, love this. This is one of the best comedies ever. I am so endeared to those old Spider-Man movies, and this one is so unintentionally funny. I think a lot of people miss the boat on the more humorous aspects of this film. It plays like an updated 1940s screwball comedy. And it does. This movie's so goofy. Like, there's the whole scene, and it feels tacked on. It's Mary Jane and Harry, and they're dancing in the kitchen to Chubby Checkers the Twist. In the year of our Lord, 2007, wouldn't they be dancing to Chameleonaire? You know what I'm saying? They see me rolling. Why are these kids dancing to Chubby Checkers the Twist? Which I'm also convinced that Spider-Man 3 takes place in some weird pocket universe that Sam Raimi has created in his head. And if you know Raimi and you know his sense of humor, I'm a big student of the game, and Raimi's sense of humor is very quirky and it's goofy, and man, does he let his freak flag fly in this movie. Lord almighty, is it crazy. It is goofy, it is wackety schmackety, but it's almost as if Raimi was like, you know what, Avi Arad, you know what, Sony? Fuck you. We're going to have a dance scene with Chubby Checkers. Let's do the twist. All right, let's get some more here. Caleb Lyles, 5 out of 5 stars. Verified purchase from Amazon. Title, Wild. Topher Grace prays to God for the death of a photographer. Pretty cool if you ask me. And I gotta tell you, that's one of my favorite scenes in the movie. When Eddie Brock is in the church before he gets the symbiote, and he's like, listen, God, I know that I've been a good Catholic my entire life and blah, 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 but I swear to God, if you'll fucking kill Peter Parker, if you will strike him down, I'll do whatever you want. I'll be very thankful. That's a wild scene. All right. So listen, you got some good reviews. Now it's time to get to the real unhinged shit. This was written by sci-fi writer, 1 out of 5 stars, POS, pile o' crap is the title. Oh boy. Childish, small-minded, thin, hardly worth the time to watch. Sure glad I never paid money to see this failure of what might be called a movie, but it really is just garbage effects and non-characters with lots of useless, noisy CGI. I can't watch any more of this drivel. Sigh. Well, guess what, sci-fi writer? Have you ever seen Michael Bay's Transformers movies? You want to talk about noisy sci-fi? Yo, and I'm going to say this. Say whatever you will, they spent $350 million. The action sequences in Spider-Man 3, they slap. All the fights and stuff with the big Sandman. Yeah, there's some dodgy CGI because it was 2007. Guys, this movie's almost 20 years old. But I'll tell you what, it's cool. It's a lot better than some of the shit that I've seen. It's better than fucking Madam Web. Listen, even Sydney Sweeney's Big Naturals couldn't save that movie. And you know what? That's a lot to put that whole movie on a pair of breasts. Just saying. Caden, 1 out of 5 stars. Meme Generator is the title. This movie is awful. I'm glad I didn't watch it till now. This movie is only good for the memes, bro. And that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing, Producer Pete. We're making movies so we can meme them. Bully Maguire. That's all this movie is good for. The memes were better than the movie, bro. All right. Those are your fucking zillennials. These are the kids that are going to be running the country. Okay. Okay, boomer. Busy Mom, 1 out of 5 stars. Title, actually horrible. Couldn't even make it halfway through. So full of drama, worse than the second one. All right, well, you're not wrong, but come on, it's not that bad. I guess you know what it is? I watch so many shitty movies. I was watching a movie the other night. It was called TNT. It was like a Gary Daniels movie and had Eric Roberts in it. Man, did it suck. I enjoyed it. I watched it. So I guess but look, in my eyes, I'm telling you folks, I hope that you watched Spider-Man 3, the editor's cut, before you listen to this episode. But if you haven't, please go watch it. Because if you think this movie's bad, or it might not be the greatest thing. Yeah, is it a bit of a drop-off in quality from Spider-Man 2? Sure. But I gotta say, man, it's still better than, what was that, Captain America, Brave New World. Still better than Thunderbolts, the New Avengers. It's better than a lot. Echo? Do you remember Echo? Oh, wow. What about fucking Moon Knight? Was Moon Knight good? Jesus Christ. Okay, let's do one more. Chris K, 1 out of 5 stars. Title, 1 star, but Kirsten Dunst is hot. Didn't enjoy this movie at all. Seemed like a teenage love story. Odd. It's like... You went and wrote this review on Target just to tell everyone that Kirsten Dunst is hot. Okay. Personally, I'm a Bryce Dallas Howard man myself. I think that she's prettier, but listen, Kirsten Dunst had a great career. She did a lot of indie movies. What was that movie? The Virgin Suicides? Great movie. She was Marie Antoinette. Great movie. She did her thing. All right, I lied. There's more. Jess Becerra, 1 out of 5 stars. Stupid. Tom Holland is a better actor. Holy shit. I mean, yeah, I guess you're upset that 35-year-old Tobey Maguire is in this movie. Is Tom Holland a better actor? I don't think so. Have you seen Tom Holland outside of the Spider-Man films? Guess what? He's fucking Tom Holland. He has zero range. He did that movie Cherry. He also did, what did he do? He did Uncharted, where he plays Peter Parker as Nathan Drake. Okay. I promise. I'm sorry, guys. One more, and I'm done. We'll be done. We can go home. Everybody can go on with their lives. One more. Yeah, right. That's who wrote it. 1 out of 5 stars. Really effing bad is the title. I just paid $3.75 for this Blu-ray at Target, and I paid too much. Tobey Maguire's acting is atrocious, but then who could tell when the rest of the actors' performances are just as horrible? Usually actors try to upstage one another, but this movie provides a rare example of actors trying to downstage each other. The screenplay and movie are so schizophrenic and devoid of any real emotion that one suspects the studio execs, producers, writers, actors, and director were more interested in snorting cocaine than making a good film. I can't with these fucking people. Like, this is a movie about a guy who shoots webs out of his hands. Like, we don't have to take it too seriously, all right? This is a movie that could essentially be a Saturday morning cartoon. And that's okay. Because there is a time and place for cinema, and there's a time and place for Spider-Man. And again, I look back at this movie, and I look back on it fondly. You know what? I've decided this is the way I want to wrap up the season finale. Can I tell you my personal story about Spider-Man 3? Let me tell you my personal. Let me just sit down. Let old Uncle Jerry embellish this story a little bit. So I was working like crazy hours, and I couldn't see Spider-Man 3. And I was so excited to see it. So I went to work one night. I was doing security for this little tiny shopping center. And I had a coworker, and he goes, Jerry, I know tonight you probably really wish you were out there seeing Spider-Man 3. And I'm like, yeah. He's like, well, don't worry. I got you Spider-Man 3. And he hands me, which was synonymous with late aughts technology and culture, a Spider-Man 3 bootleg with the most fugazi artwork I have ever seen translated in Thai or wherever it came from. He gave me Spider-Man 3 on a DVD. So I worked all night, and I was thinking, oh man, it's going to be so sweet when I get home and I go into my living room and I get to sit down and finally see a bootleg of Spider-Man 3. So I sit down, I put the DVD in, and man, is this a dodgy copy of a movie. This was obviously shot in a theater with a camcorder. And the movie starts, and I'm like, all right, we're Spider-Man, and this is not the way I wanted to experience this, but I need to find out what's going on with Venom, what's going on with Sandman. And I'm sitting there, and there's what appears to be an elderly black couple in front of the person who is sitting down watching Spider-Man bootlegging it. Don't bootleg it. You wouldn't bootleg a car, would you? Anyway, the guy says to his wife, what do you want? She's like, I want snow caps. You want snow caps? Now, I'm trying to watch the beginning of Spider-Man 3. He's like, all right, I'll go. So he gets up and goes. He comes back. So like, I'm watching people like shuffle in and out of the theater. I'm trying to watch the bootleg of Spider-Man 3. He's like, they didn't have fruit punch. I got you lemonade. Are you fucking kidding me, Harold? I am not going to be, I don't like lemonade. I'm a fruit punch girl. And I'm like, well, this is absolutely ruined. So I pretty much greened out at this point. I'm getting high as fuck. I'm watching people shuffle in and out of the theater. I hear people coughing. This is the worst possible way to watch a movie. And there is a point in this movie where Peter Parker backhands Mary Jane. Let me tell you, the black audience watching this movie, bless their hearts, they were like, what? People like jumped out of their chairs and they were like, you gotta be kidding me. I can't believe. And I'm like, that's it. I'm done. Eventually I did get to see Spider-Man 3. I got to see it on a matinee. But my whole point is that I was so desperate to watch this film that I was willing to watch a bootleg where someone argues about what beverages are available at the concession stand. That's how desperate I was. Guess what, folks? Don't bootleg stuff. If you can, watch it. Like, listen, I'm going to throw some shade at my younger brother. My younger brother, he is on the 7 Seas of the Pirate Bay at all times. My brother, he even bootlegged a movie in college. I believe it was Paul Giamatti. What was that, Napoleon he did? I forget what it was. It was some bullshit. HBO sent a cease and desist letter to my brother. Has he stopped bootlegging? No. My brother... He's like, I see a movie in the theaters. He's like, I didn't like The Running Man. I'm like, it just came out. He's like, yeah, I saw it. I'm like, Jesus Christ. Listen, bootlegging is not good, guys. It really hurts the movie industry. There's people who feed their families. There's people who provide the chicken salad on set. There's people who move the lights. All of those people are doing their job just so they can, live a comfortable life and feed their family. And when you bootleg shit, you're taking money out of the pockets of those people. Listen, I get it. You want to be punk rock and you want to bootleg shit. Don't bootleg shit. It's whack. So if you've made it this far into the episode and you're a real one and you want to represent, go into the comments and write Bully Maguire. Because you can say whatever you want to say, but for me, this movie really sings. Once Peter gets a little bit of eyeliner and that emo haircut, man, we are cooking with gas. I also want to say the emo haircut, this is like before, this is like a couple of years before the emo movement really takes off. So maybe it was Tobey Maguire who kicked it off. He was the first one. He went emo and could never go back. But I love it. I love the dancing. I love all of it. Sometimes you watch a movie with rose-colored glasses. I was never indifferent towards this film, no matter how controversial it is. I enjoyed it. I think that this is a rousing good time. I like the characters so much and the way they're portrayed, and I love Sam Raimi. And I think that, yeah, it's a lesser movie, but it is time well spent with characters we've grown to love. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's no reason to apologize. It's okay to like a movie. Even if everyone says it sucks and they say it's terrible, fuck what everyone says. You like what you like. And at the end of the day, as old Jerry says, I like Spider-Man 3. It's quaint, it's charming, and it gives me warm and fuzzy feelings for a time that is long gone in superhero cinema. So that's it, folks. It's the end of the road. It's time for me to go hit the old dusty trails. Go hibernate for a good 9 months. I don't know. Fuck it. Might have a cappuccino. Might go see Europe. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I'm always off on some adventures. You can always follow me at Jerry Horror. I'm on IG. I'm on YouTube. The Offering is everywhere. I mean, let's face it. The Offering, The Offering is like an STD you pick up from a mildly attractive woman. Was it a good time? Yes, but now you're stuck with it. And you're stuck with me, folks, and I'm glad you are, because I hope that I can deliver more exciting things in 2026. We can get bigger, better, maybe even go to the next level, maybe even just completely sell out, have this podcast presented to you by Mountain Dew. Monster Energy presents The Offering with Jerry Hara. I'm down for that. I don't care. Fuck it. Let's sell out. Oh man, we're watching the movie and they're using flip phones. Remember flip phones? Remember those? Those were great. Oh, I digress. Listen, I appreciate you guys. I really do. Don't forget to write Bully Maguire in the comments, because Jesus Christ, is this movie unhinged. I love it. I love the Franco of it. Can we uncancel Franco? No? What about Spacey? We can't do him either? What about... That's it. That's it. The show. No Franco, no Spacey. Are there any other we took back Louis C.K. Louis C.K.'s doing his thing. It's okay. You want to show you ding dong? It's okay. It's fine. Get over it. People have short memories. Don't worry. We'll meme it up in the next season. There'll be lots of memes. There'll be tons of memes. All right, folks. This has been The Offering. I'm Jerry Hara. Mostly horror, always genre. You've been listening to The Offering with Jerry Hara, produced by Pete Bune. If you have a question or story you want to share with me, we'd love to hear from you. You can email me at theofferingwithjerryhara@gmail.com, or hit us up on Twitter at theofferingwjh, or hit me up on the Instagram at Jerry Hara. You get the picture? Subscribe to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you find your favorite podcast. Join us next time for another Offering.
Chasing worries like Omaya, genre twists that shake your core. Every episode, we craving more. Mostly horror, always genre.
This has been a Sick Boy Wolfgang production. Thank you for listening.